know if anybody saw these guys being 2-1 at the start of the season, but you got the Chicago Bears going into the New York Giants. New York Giants are 3-point favorite here. Chicago had edged out a victory against the Houston Texans 23-20, and then the Giants got beat up. Not necessarily beat up, but they lost Monday Night Football to the Dallas Cowboys. Both teams kind of getting a little bit beat up with the penalties, so they need to clean that up for this to be a competitive game, or if they don't want to get beat up on by the other team if they clean it up. But I gotta go Giants. I think there's a coaching difference here. The offensive coach of the Giants with Daboll is just going to be able to manufacture points on the board, where the Bears, despite putting up 23 points last week, it was mostly almost trick plays that kind of got them in that position, and turnovers on defense, I believe, that got them up there. So I got to go Giants here. I don't know if the Bears can continue to have that kind of success that they're doing with getting turnovers and trick plays working. The Amon-Ra brother, or the St. Brown brother, not Amon-Ra brother, the St. Brown brother, doing an end around for 43 yards and stuff like that. So I got to go Giants here. I like what they're doing, despite losing Sterling Shepard, gruesome injury, but they've shown that they don't really have a number one wide receiver, and they don't really need any really wide receiver out there. They're just, they're getting the ball rolling however they can. So I got to go Giants.
Non-contact related injury at the end of a play. Sterling Shepard went down. Torn ligament, they're saying, or something like that. It's tough. This is going to be one of those games, This is going to be one of those games. Who's going to make the least amount of mistakes in this game is who's going to win this game. I'm going New York Giants. I think that I'm still upset that Leonard Williams is banged up. We really didn't get to see too much at a Kayvon Thibodeau, and we hope coming in this week, we'll have a much more refreshed Kayvon Thibodeau coming off that injury against a Thaddeus Moss play that was just absolutely ridiculous. That I can't even. I'm getting fired up right now just talking about it. You hope that you get some Wan'Dale Robinson in this game, and you hope that you get to see some Kadarius Toney in this game. If we get any of that, then I think that it's going to be an interesting game regardless. I don't know if we're going to get any more Kenny Golladay. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Having Sterling Shepard being down is definitely a tough pill to swallow. But I'm looking at the mistakes here. You got Justin Fields, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 297 yards. I think we can stop the run, and if that's the game they're going to play, I think then we could be successful trying to stop his RPO. You got Daniel Jones, 560 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on 92 attempts, 59 completions. They got Herbert, the runner, the pure runner over there, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think we can stop them running the ball. We handled McCaffrey and what McCaffrey was capable of doing, or the game plan that they had set up for McCaffrey. Maybe McCaffrey could have did more against the Giants if they had a better game plan, the Carolina Panthers. I'm not sure, but that's an elite guy, and I don't think that they have that over there. You got a quarterback who's Christian McCaffrey-esque. I don't know. He could be, I guess, maybe, but I'm going Giants here because, like Brady said, I think that we have a little bit more of established coaching staff, and I think potentially we can get this one. We can pull this one out, and maybe we get some Kayvon Thibodeau noise in this one. Hopefully against the offensive line that's game to game. I'd say game to game. That offensive line is game to game. I'm going Giants.
I'm glad you brought up Khalil Herbert because when I was mentioning how the Bears did last week, and I completely forgot that man dominated on the run last week, and I don't want to leave that out there because he did. He ran all over.
But I think we can stop the run. I think that's where we're good. I think we have the linebackers flying around. We can stop the run.
How's Nick feeling on this one?
Eddie, thank you for picking the Giants. I was waiting. I was hoping you were going to do it because it is the smart pick this week.
Well, I was waiting for him to lose.
I'm going the Giants again this week as well. That's 4 in a row for me. Just so happened to play a tough Cowboys team last week. I'm surprised you didn't even say his name. The difference maker in this game is Saquon Barkley, regardless of how good their running back played um, for Chicago last week, but also Daniel Jones and Justin Fields. Justin Fields is off to a historically tragic, very poor start of his season. His completion percentage in week 1 was 47, week 2 was 63, week 3 was 47. His rating was 27.7 last week. It was 43.8 the week before and 55.7 the week before that. Like you said, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks, 200 and something yards. That's bad. It's really bad.
Well, the offensive line isn't the
I
great.
feel like the Bears still don't have faith in him going forward. I'm jumping off the Justin Fields train. It should be an easy one for the Giants. I feel like it's 21-10.
I mean, I think they're going to get a play. They're going to get a play.
I'll double down on the Justin Fields train. I think he's the biggest factor in this game. I think this will definitely far and away be his best game of the season. The fact that they can run the ball, the Giants, when I was watching the Monday night game, I don't like the Giants secondary. I think they're susceptible to some big plays and stuff with the style that they run over there. And I think that's going to fit nicely with Fields being able to create this game. Brady touched on it with the Bears. Their defense has played really good this year so far. Lots of no big names that stick out at you, but collectively they played strong. I think they've allowed under 24 points per game this year, which is good in the new NFL. And they found ways to win the game. By no stretch of the imagination, one of these two teams sitting at 2-1 is going to come out 3-1, looking like roses on the surface. But I don't buy either one of these teams long term. But somebody will get the victory here. I'm going to take the Bears 23-20. I think it's a very close game. Love watching Barkley though. Love that he's looking like the Saquon that we saw in the first year. That makes me happy. Daniel Jones looked pretty darn good if he wasn't under so much pressure every single snap against Dallas. The Bears' pass rush is not Dallas's pass rush, but they have been getting to the passer as well. That still bothers me for the Giants, the offensive line, and just the lack of weapons. Richie James looked nice. Galladay, no show again. Just terrible performance by him.
Galladay led the team for receiving yards. He was 3 catches for 53 yards, but I mean, he got those and those 2, and that was it. Dropping key balls, all types of stuff.
It's almost a mirror image of these two teams. Both young, new coaching staffs, unproven quarterbacks. Even with DJ being in his 5th year or 4th year?
Fourth year. We declined the option. We declined the 5th year option.
It's just you're looking at kind of the same teams, but there are pieces there, and I think both teams. The common denominator that is the coaching is better than it has been in previous years, and I think that's why they have some W's under the belt. You can see Daboll's putting his thumbprint on things. The Eberflus guys comes from a defensive side over there with the Colts, so you can see the improvement there, and maybe that's why Justin Fields hasn't quite flourished as much because he's not exactly an offensive mind. So these two teams represent I feel like their coaching staffs collectively. So I think it's a really good game. I think it's nice to see both these two teams getting some W's, feeling good about it because they're both young. You got all kinds of open-ended position battles going across the field. You play good, you're going to play. We're going to get you the ball. I got Bears here, though.
Yeah, when you touched on the Bears defense, I wanted to also add with last week the man that saved the game with Roquan Smith. And can we get this man paid already? Because he deserves it. He's the star on that team. And the fact that I don't know whatever the contract dispute was that they offered him some crappy contract. He said, pay that man. He deserves it. He is your defense. Right? At least last week he was your defense.
Yeah. Didn't even make the Pro Bowl. Eddie Jackson's got 2 picks on the year too. They're making plays.
The most underrated linebacker in the league, 100%.
Alrighty. Next 1:00 game. Jacksonville Jaguars doing their thing over there. They're trending in the right direction. And they got the tough Philadelphia Eagles team. They're 3-0. They got a good team over there when they can put things together. But this Jacksonville team, I feel like they can put a run for their money. So when they got Philly here on a 6.5 point favorite, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I mean, as much as Philly did against Washington, let's also remember that they only did that in one quarter. Everything else was blanketed on the quarters, and not to mention that they're a run team and they only put up 72. So there's a good chance here that this Jacksonville team can put some pressure on this Eagles team. But at the end of the day, this Eagles team will be too much for Philly at the end of the day. So I'm going to go Philly here, but I think it's going to be inside 6.5. I think it's going to be by like 3-4 points.
Yeah, I mean, I've been buying the Philly hype before a game was even played this year, and I called them to win a division. So I'm going to Philadelphia Eagles here as well. I think this could potentially maybe be a trap game for Philly. Maybe, I mean, this is a big one. Quietly, this is a big one.
Good Jacksonville defense.
This jumped off the page at me when I looked at the list. This was the one that stuck out to me the most. To me, this is the Buffalo Bills Miami Dolphin game of last week. To me, that's how I'm taking this one. This one's got quietly good implications here. We're gonna know a lot about these two teams. Whoever comes out victorious in this game, and yeah, I'm going to Philadelphia Eagles here because I think they're just gonna business as usual and they're just gonna keep doing what they're doing. And Jalen Hurts is gonna have a hell of a game, and it's gonna be tough for Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence. I think Jacksonville's defense is gonna keep it low scoring. It's gonna be a game. What do you got, Nick?
We already know what it is. Eagles in the house, 3-0. Let's get it. Bringing another one home. Jacksonville, you guys can ride it all you want. I'll let you guys talk about Jacksonville because I'm just going to say, put some respect on Hurts' name. That offense, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith started out slow. Now he's banging. Man, we look good on the offense. Jalen Hurts has improved detrimentally, I think, from last year as far as his passing game goes. I know you said we struggled on the ground this week as a running team, Brady. But I feel like that goes more towards a little more confidence going into Hurts' way and his direction, especially when it starts to gel early in the game. I know in the second half we have been kind of dropping it down to like minimal play and minimal, kind of just playing sound football. But him starting off fast and early like that, I think all his touchdowns came from the air last week. He had 3 touchdowns, no picks. They were all in the air, and they were all nice, good plays. He had 4 plays over 25 yards. In the air, so I'm going Eagles again. Defense, I think, is going to overwhelm Trevor Lawrence a little bit. I mean, it's business as usual on that defensive line. BG having another Brandon Graham year. And then, boys, Fletcher Cox is looking a little bit better this year than he was last year. Still not too much noise from Jordan Davis, but, it's expected to not see as many as the number stats go as sacks and stuff like that from him, but his presence is definitely felt when he's on the field. You can see a lot of double teams as soon as he gets on the field. Same thing with Fletcher Cox. Then you got these guys like Josh Sweat and Devon Hargrave and all these monsters out there on the defensive line getting at it. Eagles 4-0.
Yeah, I gotta go Eagles here. The reason being for me is the Eagles start off fast. Every game they've started out fast and they get out to the lead. Jacksonville, on the flip side, hasn't had to play from behind yet. I think they're going to have to play from behind this week, and I think Nick's right. I think Lawrence is going to struggle because of it. There's going to be a lot more on his shoulders. I agree with the D-line causing problems in the run game for Jacksonville as well. I just think they're going to struggle early to put together first downs. The Eagles have a nice blueprint for getting, quick scores going early in the game, getting themselves off to a comfortable spot. There are things about the Eagles that still bother me, but I believe in this game. I don't think they have too much trouble with Jacksonville, and it's a little bit more of a reality check for them. They played great, and it's nothing taken away from them, but they've been able to play a lot more comfortable football here to open the season, and I think they're going to be in an uncomfortable spot going to Philly to play the Eagles this week.
And it's hard to get dubs in Phil.
You touched on the fact that Jacksonville's never played from behind. I don't think Philly's haven't played from behind yet this season
like
either.
I said, there are things that trouble me about Philly, but not right now.
No, I was just saying because the fact that neither one of these teams have really played from behind. You touched on the fact that Jacksonville, but I was just more curious. Do you think is this a chance where if Jacksonville can get off to a hot lead, that if, is the game plan changed for Philly, that they can't continue their motions and what they've been doing.
I think ultimately that will be an issue, but I don't think Jacksonville's the team to come in there and do it. They've looked great, and I mean I can accept arguments about how well Robinson has run and stuff like that, and Lawrence to Kurt and Zay Jones. We were talking about it pre-show. They've been impressive, but they caught a beat-up Chargers team last week. So, and the Chargers, as we've talked about week after week for the past 2-3 years, they play down to teams that they should kind of win, and they're banged up. And I think Jacksonville, no doubt about it, capitalized, no doubt about it. Doug Peterson has Lawrence playing at a higher confidence level, and you can see that in the field translation. And they've got some good things working there. On both sides of the ball, the defense has played really well too. I mean, obviously, a shutout, we talked about that too. That didn't happen. That doesn't happen a lot, and that's a good Colts team. As banged up as they were, still a good Colts team. So they're good things for Jacksonville, but I think Philly is a bad matchup for them, honestly, because they're not going to take chances with Jalen Hurts. It's going to be very conservative but dynamic, and I think that will just wear Jacksonville down over time. And I think they'll be playing from behind in this game.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Jacksonville's only letting up 55 yards rushing, but that 268 yards passing you're letting up is just like, the Eagles could very easily exploit that. It's like when, if they do shut the run down, right, and they stop the Eagles from running the ball, this is when we're going to get to see what we really want to see from Hurts, right? Because no one's ever said that, he couldn't throw the ball. It's just numbers didn't say he can throw the ball when everybody knows he's throwing the ball, So this is going to be a good testament if they shut the run down, and they come and they still just business as usual, and the Eagles plow right through this. Then that's what I'm saying. This game's very important, and we're gonna know a lot about each one of these teams. Whoever wins this game on this is a measuring stick moving forward on how good the team is. You know what I mean? Because right now Jacksonville's defense pretty good.
Philly's a different animal though on the ground. This is a different animal than they faced all season. The Chargers team they played last year, dead last in rushing offense. So those numbers are going to look a lot better. The Eagles rushing attack, top notch right now. Well-oiled machine, different parts coming in, and a quarterback that's playing at a high level right now in Jalen Hurts.
Well,
I just think it's going to cause.
You can mention the Chargers, but they also shut down Jonathan Taylor, the number one rushing last year. So they can do it. That's they can do it. There's not that question shouldn't be there if they can shut down Phillies. Right?
I mean, if we're talking about
they do it, it's not an if they can. It's if they do it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just Philly is a different. Like Nick said. It's a different machine, though. It's a different machine. I mean, Hurts put pressure.
He wants to give it to Sanders or not, or he wants to hold it and take it. And sometimes he takes it and makes the pass down the field. Dude. Like there's three options there, and so the run pass option is it's working and it keeps working.
RPO.
You run it the most at anybody in the league.
RPO.
I mean, RPOs are all over the NFL right now. Every team's got at least 5 of them in their playbook. So keeping the ball rolling. Next 1:00 game, you got the New York Jets going into the Pittsburgh Steelers. Zach Wilson's coming back this week, I believe. It's his first week. They got rid of the Joe Flacco show. Understandably so. There's only so much that man can do, and he kind of got the bad end of the stick there last week. He wasn't able to be as dynamic as he was those first 2 weeks. This Pittsburgh Steelers defense, while banged up, is still a good defense. They put up a good fight against last Thursday against the Cleveland Browns. They had that little failed attempt at the end, but it was a close game. It wasn't that 19-13 at the end of the score. It was, or whatever the final score was. It wasn't as bad as that game. The score led it to be. Touched on that on the last show. But this Jets defense, they got the weapons, or this Jets offense, they have the weapons here to put up the points. I think I do like the Jets here. Pittsburgh's a 3.5-point favorite, but I think I go with the Jets here. Just Zach Wilson coming back as interception prone as he was last year. I think he got to sit back, these first 3 weeks and kind of study the playbook, study Joe Flacco's throwing, and know how to learn. Maybe hopefully learn a little bit, read the defense a little better. Minka Fitzpatrick's going to be a huge ordeal for him to come over his first week coming in. So, but he's got other options outside of just whoever Minka Fitzpatrick is over top of. So I'm going to go Jets here with the upset.
The upset. Jets are letting up 27 points a game. Pittsburgh's letting up 22. They're letting up 100 yards rushing on the ground, both teams. Letting up over 220 yards passing each team. Pittsburgh, 270 yards, almost 300 yards a game. But this is a tough one to get. Wilson just coming out of this injury, firing on all cylinders. That's a tough ask. And I wouldn't want to be the quarterback coming back from an injury and being out as many weeks as he's been out to just get thrown into the fire against Pittsburgh. Whether there's no Watt or there is a Watt, it's still Pittsburgh defense. They're still going to be playing ferocious ball because it's Pittsburgh. So it's tough for me to go Jets here. Plus the little spat there with the D lineman on the sideline against the last team the Jets were playing against, what was that, Baltimore? They were arguing on the side. Was that Baltimore? Who's the Jets last? You had the New York Jets playing the Cincinnati Bengals. And Williams, the D lineman, was beefing with the D coordinator on the sidelines. So, there's some things happening on defense some guys don't like and stuff like that. I'm going to go Pittsburgh here just because, like you said, it's really worrying me that this guy's coming back from being out all those weeks with this knee injury against, a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that's not as Pittsburghish as it's been in the past. But I'm still going to go Pittsburgh here. I don't know, Nick. How about you?
This is an ugly game for me. I picked the Jets last week. Wanted the Jets to win. Just to and like I said earlier, I was picking against Cleveland in the last few weeks, and I wanted the Jets to kind of take that step forward and kind of make something happen with all that talent in the offense. But their defense is just playing terrible. Brady touched on there's some guys that are, but it's been like that for the Jets for a few years. They've been drafting defense, and it's just not panned out. I don't know if it's play calling or if it's just lack of, communication between everybody on the field. But I'm going to go Jets again this week just to edge out the Steelers. I think Mitch Trubisky has a decent game against their bad defense and can win the game and probably will or should win the game. But I'm going to go Jets, and then it's Kenny Pickett time in Pittsburgh next week.
Well, it's the first one we're going to be on the split on. I got Pittsburgh because of that Jets defense. The Jets defense is just it's bad, and I think the talent on Pittsburgh will be the difference here, and they'll be able to score more points. I do think Zach's going to find some success. Like you mentioned, there's plenty of weapons over in the cupboard for him at his disposal. But I think this is like Eddie said, it's a tough place to have your season debut on the road in Pittsburgh. And it's not the old Pittsburgh Steelers defense by no stretch of the imagination. And Watt, yes, Watt, no. Make a good point to bring him up. I just think in the end, the Jets have to outscore people. And I think that's going to be a tough ask on the road first start. I still think the Jets are trending in an upward direction. I still think Mitch is going to buy himself a couple more weeks. It's tough to take somebody out when you're 500. Tomlin's a by the book type of coach. So he's not going to make these feeling reactions to certain things. He's going to let his plan play out. And his plan has been over 500 for his career, plus making the playoffs. So, dude ultimately knows what he's talking about at the end of the day. I'm going to go Pittsburgh. More togetherness, as we like when we're out there banging. So, yeah, the togetherness for Pittsburgh. And the weapons on offense, it's hard for me to see the Jets coming up with the defensive type of performance that I think they're going to need to win this game.
With that Spaghetti, son.
I don't think Mitch goes out if they win. I think it's a good possibility if they lose this game, that he could be taken out.
Yeah, no. If he performs poorly, I agree with you. 100%. I just think the Jets defense is going to make him look startable the following week.
It's fair.
They're bad over there. They're bad over there.
Freddie, how you feel
And
about
they have some talent. They have some talented pieces, but collectively as a unit, they're not on the same page. And you just watch some of the film on them. There's people wide open, like in college type of schemes. And that's not Robert Salas's MO. You know what I mean? We all know him as a defensive guy. And the communication back there is just, you see it. And they're just big goof ups that are causing big plays for the opposing team.
Brady, how you feel about the Pickett situation with Trubisky? Would you start Trubisky, or would you let your guy sit because you know he's your guy and you want him to come in the proper way? Like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about as opposed to rushing and throwing him into the water and sink or swim, or quietly, slowly, easily? Which one do you find to be the better way to? What do you think's the better way to do it?
I mean, we touched on this 2 weeks ago, and I had said, like, I'm not a big fan ever of forcing your rookie in there to see what you have. Like, I didn't like it when, they were saying Justin Fields needs to go in for Andy Dalton. I was like, he doesn't have an offense for him. He's a different kind of quarterback. Let him learn how to throw because that's where he needs. We know he's a good runner. Let him learn how to throw behind Andy Dalton. But Andy Dalton ended up getting hurt, and then they struggled with Fields for 5 weeks until Fields got a win there. And so again, I don't think they're kind of similar quarterbacks, Mitchell Trubisky, in the way they play when Pickett. But again, it's not an offensive line that you want. It's not an offensive line that you want to throw in a quarterback behind. We sat here and we touched on how the Jets defense isn't playing well, but the Pittsburgh offense isn't playing well. I mean, I know you asked me about Kenny Pickett and the Mitchell Trubisky situation, but it's not. They're just doing their wins. Their wins have come off of, or their one win has come off the fact that they just did enough on defense to outmaneuver the other team's offense, And I don't know. The Jets have the weapons here for it to be a difficult dance for the Steelers
in overtime against Cincinnati.
You talked about how much the Steelers defense, gave up and everything. So, but yeah, when it comes to Pickett and Trubisky, I'm never a fan of forcing a guy in, behind just because you're not playing well. I think if you're letting the man learn, let the man learn. I think that's the way it should be for the season. And then at the end of the year, full head on. But that's, that'd be my opinion on the matter.
Dope.
All right. Next game. This is a good one, I think. We got the Buffalo Bills, as banged up as they are, and they took an L last week to Miami. Devastating loss. They tried to get spike the ball there, ran out of time for a field goal to tie it, but they lost the game, banged up secondary. And then they're playing the Baltimore Ravens, who, Lamar Jackson's looking like another MVP season he had 3 years ago. And then last year before, getting injured, he's looking phenomenal. Because that Bills defense is banged up, I just think that Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense can play well enough to win. Buffalo's a 3-point favorite here, but I think the Ravens take this at home. They're not going to have another silly showing like they did against Miami. And so I got to go Ravens here. I think this offense is going to be too much for this Bills defense. This Bills team right now, the way that secondary is being depleted, reminds me of the Bucs last year. They were the Super Bowl favorite, and then you lose half your defense, especially your secondary. And then it becomes a tough battle to get wins. And I like the Baltimore Ravens here.
I mean, it's just incredible. You look at the injury report, like it's just it's literally incredible. Seriously incredible. How many players are on each? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 on Baltimore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Come on.
16 on Buffalo. Like that's crazy. Right, so we can't use
which are their starters on defense.
So we can't use that as an excuse, right? Because I mean, both of them got it, right? So it's like that excuse is like null and void, And that Buffalo game that Buffalo ended up, losing against Miami. It's like, was that the Heat? Did the Heat do that? Was that the Heat just beating up on the Buffalo Bills? I don't think they'll have to worry about that this time around, but you will have to worry about a Lamar Jackson who has been playing very well. I I think the team that is going to get hurt by all the injuries is going to end up being Buffalo in this one. I'm going to end up going Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen in this one, and maybe it's a bad idea because both teams have a tremendous amount of injuries that have been piling up over the weeks. But I mean, and when you look at the numbers given up, you know, Baltimore's defense is giving up more rushing yards and passing yards than Buffalo is. But I don't know. I got a gut feeling here about the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson pulling this one out. I'm going Ravens on this one. I don't know about you, Nick.
I was like, time out real fast before we move on. I apologize, but I don't know if you guys are watching this Thursday night football game, but did Tua just go down? Was that Tua that they just got injured?
I know
Didn't see it.
that.
I didn't look.
Somebody was just injured, and the whole Miami offense or the whole Miami team was on the field, like, you know,
Oh no.
hoping this guy gets better.
Oh wow, they do have the.
Oh no.
They got the stretcher out.
It's going down. It's
Not
going
sure.
down here on Thursday night.
Yeah, it is too. Looking real emotional.
Yeah, I'm going Baltimore Ravens here.
Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, sorry for cutting you off and mid
worries.
picks here, but that's a big scenario right there where the dude's already banged up, and then he just took, I think, three bad hits there in a row.
Yeah, that looks bad.
The last one looks pretty hurt on.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
that's got to be tough.
Yeah,
No,
Tua's
that's all right to interrupt. 'Cause
That goes back to that concussion protocol that we talked about last or before the show. You know, was it followed?
Oh no.
Yeah,
He got
that's-
slammed down the same
he's
way
stiff.
again.
He's laying down stiff. I mean, his hands are oof.
Yeah, that's an ugly sight. Ugly sight. Let's stay on track though. Let's stay on
I
track.
got you.
We'll circle back when we get the info.
I'm gonna disagree with both Brady and Eddie here. I'm going to Buffalo Bills. Two is some of the best teams in the AFC right now. Both quarterbacks playing really well. But I think, like you said, Eddie, the Ravens defense has given up more rushing yards, more passing yards overall than the Buffalo Bills have. I think Ravens defense opens up the field for Josh Allen a little bit more for those big plays that happen and those big plays that are made by Buffalo week in and week out. I don't think Buffalo hits a stump again this week. I think they're going to edge out the Ravens. I got a high-scoring one here, maybe 35, 30, 32, 30, something like that. I'm going Buffalo.
Yeah, as banged up as Buffalo's secondary was last week. Tua didn't have a great game. I think he had 248. He had 2 touchdowns and a pick. That secondary gave up one big play to the big play offense, which was that one to Waddle where he split the safeties. Besides that, all those backups that they had in the secondary performed very, very well. Matt Milano's on fire. That defensive line is fast. They were missing the beef up in the middle, and you could see that happen with the goal line runs by Chase Edmonds, scoring a couple of times on them. So that is an issue. The Ravens get back Dobbins, though. They get back Dobbins. He's been out for over a year now. Happy to see him back in the fold. Lamar's on fire. He's playing phenomenal ball. He really is phenomenal ball. Both these teams have the commonality that the Dolphins beat both of them, too. I like Buffalo here. I think they'll be more successful against the opposing defense. Stephon Diggs has been on fire. Him and Josh Allen have had a great connection since the start of the season. And the Ravens have had some misconnections in their secondary too, although they do have some good playmakers back there. But I like Buffalo to outscore the Ravens in this one.
Yeah,
I agree with Nick.
It's a tough one to call here because both these teams, this could be an AFC Championship game at the end of the year,
For sure.
easily.
Both quarterbacks are very capable of single-handedly winning the game. So it's going to be probably the game of the week.
Yep. I mean, they're very similar quarterbacks, too. They're both, can easily take off for 40-yard run on you out of nowhere, and you're like, crap, what did we just do on defense? But it'll be a fun one to watch.
Has been impressive.
Mm-hmm. He has. When he needed to, he's been there, no doubt. Next game, though. Los Angeles Chargers just got beat up by Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Houston Texans got edged out by the Chicago Bears. So Chargers only 1 win on the season. Texans looking for their first win. Chargers are a 5-point favorite, despite being as banged up as they are still. I know Herbert played all last game. I don't think it helped his injury in his ribs. That probably was a game that he should have sat out on to relax. That Jacksonville team, while good, as good as that defense is, you could have taken that game and still been competitive, I think, with Herbert in the way that offense should be playing. But I'm going to go Chargers here. They're getting just the better end of football, I guess, at the end of the day. They can run if they ever want to, but that's another one of those teams that it's what's holding them back, similar to, I think, Buffalo and the Rams, where like they don't need to have enough run plays in that playbook for them to be super successful. But I do like the Chargers here. I don't know if Davis Mills in this Texans offense has enough to compete and get past this Chargers defense that does look pretty well. While they did get beat up last week by Jacksonville, they did have 2 good showings before that. They had a tough break with KC, but that's a whole nother animal versus the Houston Texans here. So I'm going to go Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree here with the pick there, Brady, because I just see the Texans being a scrappy team, very hungry and looking to trying to get their first win of the season. I think if I wanted to try and set up a story, this would be the perfect way to do it. You got an injured Herbert who's been chipped up. Joey Bosa just got put on injured reserve. You got Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle, incredible offensive lineman who wowed a lot of people in the weight room out of Northwestern coming out of college. You got some guys chipped up. What's going on with Keenan Allen? I don't know. This is a scrappy Texans team, and I think that potentially, this is where David Mills go ahead and gets his first win of the year. I don't know about you, Nikki, but I'm going Texans.
I like the take. It's hard for me to take the Texans this week.
As it should
just
be.
like it might be hard to take a banged up Chargers team. I feel like ultimately leaving Justin Herbert off the field last week would have only helped them more, moving forward. You could tell, and it wasn't so much that it was more so the second half, because the first half, the Chargers still looked decent enough. But the one thing you could see when you go back and you watch some of the highlights and you watch Herbert, his passes were still perfect, just like they always are. But his mobility in the pocket, you could tell a lot of times when he does move out and make those plays, he wasn't able to do it. You could see he was more timid on the trying to get the ball away, so he wasn't getting hit. You see him get hit a few times and he was shaking up. And then when the game starts running away from you like that, even in the fourth quarter, I mean, why not pull him out? It's a 3-possession game, 6 minutes on the clock. Why have him play through the rest of the game and just risk even more injury? But ultimately, I'm taking the Chargers in this one. Texans team, it's rough around the edges, all around pretty much. They just don't got the manpower to overpass, I think, the Chargers. The Chargers should bounce back with a nice one this week. Chargers.
I'm going with Eddie. I'm going to go Texans, too. I'm going to go Texans, number 5 in the league in sacks. Surprise, surprise, because I didn't see that coming. And the Chargers are dead last at running the ball. And those injuries that Eddie mentioned, and it brings me back to the Chargers coaching staff. Like, that's where I keep on coming back with them. Decisions like this to start your quarterback when he's, coming off that game where he was in serious pain. The season's long, man. One game is not going to cost you the season, but one player can cost you the season.
Well said.
And we were excited about the Chargers because they added Khalil Mack to Bosa. We were excited about the Chargers because they went and got J.C. Jackson. He's still questionable on this game too. And all of a sudden you take away Bosa, all you have is Mack. So you're the same kind of defense now, minus those 2 guys that you were in the past. And then Keenan Allen has been banged up for the past 2 weeks, too. You're taking a weapons. And then Slater, massive injuries on every single level of their team. And then your quarterback's severely banged up. He's not just going to walk that one off. That's pain tolerance right there. And it's going to limit what you can do. And the mobility, like Nick said, that's a big part of Herbert's game. Maybe not taking off like Hurts or somebody like that, but moving and then delivering is a big part of his game. and that's part of that injury, just the range of motion and stuff like that is going to hinder him. It would be an upset for the Texans to win. You're right on the point spread, but the Texans are a team that's not going to beat themselves. That's why I'm taking the Texans in this spot. They're not going to give the game to the Chargers. It might not be pretty, and they have struggled putting points on the board, so that does worry me a little bit. But the Chargers' banged-up team last week didn't look pretty either. So I think that equals the playing field out. I love the kid Petrie. I mentioned him, honorable mentions in Defensive Player of the Year. He had 2 picks last week. Stingley's playing good. And Davis Mills isn't beating them. He's not going out there and putting up crazy numbers, but he's not turning the ball over either. And they do still have a couple of pieces with Cooks and Nico Collins at their disposal. I think they edge this one out. Another tough loss for the Chargers at this point in time. And I think it's just because they're shooting themselves in the foot on a couple of levels.
All right, that's the end of the 1 o'clock games.
That's it. It's 1 o'clock games, gentlemen.
All right, man.
Make sure y'all tune in for the 4 o'clock games. We'll have a show on that as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for checking us out, man. We love you guys, man. Hit us up in the
Some
comments
1 o'clock
and
battles here going on.
hit us up on Instagram. Let us know, man. Any questions at all? We love it. Bring it on.
Running
Running
Guys
Route.
podcast, baby.
Let us know, baby. Thank you.
Take it easy.